Hey guys, I'm going to open today with a trivia question that relates to the topics we're talking about. You can see there that is the San Francisco 49ers logo, the football team. And I'm going to start with just a stop and jot to see if you guys know this. And the question will be, why are they called the 49ers? Okay. And if you did the Gold Rush thing yesterday, then you should know this. If you didn't and you're not sure, take a wild guess, but just they're from San Francisco, which is in California. They're called the 49ers. Go ahead and pause and jot in your notebooks. Why do you think they're called the 49ers? Okay, I'm going to assume you guys got that down. The answer is that it is based on the gold rush, and it refers to people who came to California to strike gold. The gold was found in 1848, and most of the people came to search for that gold in 1849. So they called the people, the miners, the people who came to do this, 49ers. Okay. And since San Francisco is in California and it's near the Sierra Nevada mountains, which is the most common spot people went search for the gold, they decided to take that history of that area and use it for their team name. All right. And I've got a couple vocab words that relate to that. This isn't, the only stuff we're covering today, but since I started out with Gold Rush stuff, I figured these would be good vocab to offer for the day. So California Gold Rush. So first of all, what is that? It's an event that was sparked by the discovery of gold in California in 1848. Okay, gold is very valuable. So it inspired thousands of people to travel to the region in search of gold, and had a massive impact on so much of how the western part of the country developed. And then the term I just talked about, 49ers, second vocab word, that is what people who traveled to California in 1849, or really just around that time at all, to mine for gold, that's what they were called. They were called 49ers. And there's another sports team that's named after the gold rush, and that's the Denver Nuggets, because nuggets refers to a nugget of gold. But they're actually named after the Colorado Gold Rush, which happened 10 years later. Nonetheless, if you look with most sports teams, you look at their team name, there's a history behind that related to that area. So it's a good, easy way to learn your history is just by looking at the sports team names. So anyway, the Gold Rush is not the only focus that we're doing for today, but it is a massive, massive part of Westward expansion, as you saw, that it related to Asian American immigrants. It related to a lot of what African Americans experienced in this time, and had its own section. So there's a lot for the Gold Rush. But I'm going to keep on rolling here, and let's take a look at today's activity. Today's the last day of the Westward expansion crash course unit. Tomorrow we're going to move on to slavery. So I just wanted to get you just a basic sense of what this time period is about before we move on. And really, so far, each of you have only focused on one topic because you used that same topic for both of the two assignments we've done. So before we move on, I just want you to get a sense of some of the other things that happened during the Gold Rush. Okay, so for today's assignment, I have samples of all 7 of the options. And what I mean by samples is like a sample version of the assignment that you guys did 2 days ago, where you looked at what did this group experience and did they benefit from it, okay? And the Mexican-American War one is actually the most complicated. The other ones are a little bit more straightforward. And you can see all 7 there, and you just need to pick 4 of them, okay? And they need to be different ones than you've already covered, because I'm wanting you to learn about something different. So by the end of this, you should have covered one of the topics when you did your own assignment, and then you should have done 4 more for this assignment. So you should at least be familiar with 5 of the 7 topics, okay? Now, you might be like, I'm covering 4 of them today. That's a lot. Well, you're not having to read the whole big Discovery Ed reading. So each of these shouldn't take too long, because your activity is just to read, like I said, this like short summarized version right here, and you're just picking out the most important thing you learned about it for each. So if you focus and you move through it, shouldn't take you, I would guess, more than 20-25 minutes to get through it, possibly a little bit less. So I'm going to walk you through one of them so we know what we're doing. So you go to number 1, it says to choose a sample. So I'm going to go down to my samples and I'm going to look at all the topics and be like, what interests me? And maybe I'm going to go Asian immigrants. That sounds kind of interesting. So I'm going to look back here, and it asked me what sample did I choose. And I'll put Asian immigrants 1. Now this answer ends up being the exact same. They're not all going to work out quite like that, but a lot of them will. It says, which group of people did it focus on? Well, it was Asian immigrants. Actually, so we don't repeat ourselves, I'm going to put the sample number for this one. See, sometimes it takes a second to get things right. So which sample did you choose? I'll put sample number 5 to make that clear. And then which group does that focus on? It was focusing on the Asian immigrants. And then, like I said, the last step is just what is the most important thing you learned about that group's experience, okay? And so I'm going to go back and I'm going to read it. And I'm not going to read this out loud because I'm just sort of modeling here. But I've already read this one, and as I'm thinking about it, I'm like, yeah, what's something I learned there that was kind of interesting or really important that I didn't know before? And, you know, I could put lots of different things here. I'm probably going to start it with, I learned that, and I could put, you know, I learned that, you know, a lot of Chinese Americans got to this country because of the gold rush, right? That might be a fact I didn't know. That's interesting and important. Or I might put that I didn't know that a lot of these Chinatowns started out because a lot of the Chinese immigrants wanted to live in the same neighborhood when they moved together, when they moved over here during the gold rush, right? So just something in my own words that I learned that I think was important. Boom. And there you go. Now I'm done with number 1. And then I just have to move on and do that for 3 more of those examples. And then I'm done, okay? And the idea being here that by the end, like I said before, you should have some familiarity with most of the big topics of the westward expansion. Okay, we didn't really have the time to do it in depth, but you at least will have some awareness, okay? That is all I've got. So go ahead and start working on that assignment and send me a message if you have a question. See you guys.